Alright guys, welcome back. So, last day you guys will get to see the mustache, so have fun with that. Do with that what you will. But anyway, here we are back once again. It is Overwatch League Season 3, week number 13. So, we got another 10 matches this weekend. 2 of them have already been played. They happened, of course, very early this Saturday morning. I have not watched them as to avoid spoilers, so I don't know what happened in them. The matchups were Guangzhou versus Seoul Dynasty, and then New York Excelsior versus the Shanghai Dragons. So, in those, interesting little bit. Obviously, Seoul coming off of their first loss. Shanghai, really asserted their dominance. Shanghai showing why they are the number one team in the league right now. So how will Seoul bounce back from their first loss? This team, as they're currently constructed, has never lost together. So do they bounce back? Also, Guangzhou had a couple of pretty off performances last week. Do they bounce back and have a really good one this week? Echo is available for play, so we'll see if she gets any playtime. I think she will, at least on control maps, if not the other map types as well, because she is very strong, but she's also very vulnerable to hit scan. So look for more probably Ashe play. I could see some Soldier gameplay potentially as well. So it will be interesting to see what happens there for sure. I in my games in ranked, I'm a diamond player, and I absolutely rip up that the Echo, because she has quite the hitbox. So, and when she hasn't used her dash, she's especially if she's out in the open, she's not positioning very well. She's quite vulnerable. So it'll be interesting to see how the Overwatch League teams do utilize her. But I will take the Dynasty to beat Guangzhou. I think it's pretty close. I think Guangzhou, they've been 3-0 a couple of times lately. I think that they're going to come out and have a much better performance. They've had Chara for a couple of games now, so I feel like he'll be a little bit more comfortable back, synergizing with the team. Last week, I thought that Shu had a really off week, but he is one of their best players, so I think he'll bounce back and have a much better performance. But I'll say that Seoul wins it in the end 3-2. Then, what should be probably the best matchup of the entire week, we got the Shanghai Dragons taking on the New York Excelsior. So, in my opinion, the number 1 team taking on the number 3 team. I'm going to go with Shanghai in this in a very close match. I think that it's back and forth. The only reason I'm going with Shanghai is because I like them a little bit more in control. I think they'll take at least one, if not both, of the control maps. I do think we go to a map 5. New York has been super rock solid this whole year. They looked really clean last week. But it just feels like every season there's a team that just feels the regular season, and they just win so many games. In Season 1, it was New York. In Season 2, we actually had 2 teams like that, the Shock as well as the Titans. New York was like that for the first couple stages, but then they really fell off towards the end in terms of just losing, regular matches. So I feel like it's Shanghai's turn to just win a ton of regular season games, and Philly has done so as well. But in my opinion, Shanghai has been a lot more dominant. They've done it against better competition. That's why I have them at number 1 and Philly at number 2 in the league right now. So yeah, I think it's an amazing match. It should be one of our best of the season. Of course, we did say that about Seoul and Shanghai, so hopefully they go to 4 or 5. I'm going to say it goes to 5, with Shanghai clutching it out in the end and getting that close victory. Then we go to the NA matches for today. Dallas Fuel matching up against Washington Justice. So Fuel, they've been looking a lot more strong. They're sitting at 3-4 right now. Got a very tight 3-2 victory against the Outlaws in the battle for Texas last week in a very entertaining match. Very enjoyable to watch. And then we have Washington, who has been free falling. They are down to 2-8. They desperately need wins, or it's going to be time for them to write off their season. So, who wins this one? Washington, for me, is in the same boat as Boston. I just cannot pick them. I cannot pick them until I see something. So, I'm going to go with Dallas here. They've been playing a lot better. It would be interesting to see if they, since they have a couple of bench DPS players, for them and other teams that have a couple of bench DPS players, have they been practicing Echo? Will we see some of the will we see one of them come in on Echo? Like, do you think AKM or Zachary could make a reappearance on the hero, or will they just not play it, or will they have one of like Doha or Decay on it? Who knows? They'll probably have one of the starters on it, but it'll be interesting to see if any teams have been doing that, where they've had one of their DPS players who hasn't been in their like rotation. If they had him, in the hyperbolic time chamber, we like to say, training it up. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Dallas here. They're playing a lot better. They're for me, they're a borderline top 12 team. They're in that category with a lot of the other teams that have about that record and have played about that well. Like your Chengdu Hunters, your Hangzhou Spark, even your Houston Outlaws, Florida Mayhem. All of those teams that they could make that play-ins, or they could finish like 16th, 17th. So I'm expecting a solid performance from Dallas here. I feel like they're starting to really, really get comfortable with each other. They're starting to kind of get into a rhythm, which we haven't really seen Dallas ever do, at least early on in a season. So exciting stuff for Dallas fans. Washington, yeah, we need to start seeing improvements, because we have not seen them the last couple of weeks. LA Valiant taking on Atlanta Reign is next. I'm gonna go with the Reign here. Coming off a 0-3 to the Philly Fusion, where every match, all the maps were close, but it seemed, the casters kept mentioning this, and I totally agree. It was one of those matches where the teams were close, but Philly was just a little bit better at every turn. Just a little bit. So, a little bit unfortunate for Atlanta. They're getting another loss, but they face a Valiant team that has been struggling as well. I'm going to go with the Reign here. I think they close it up 3-1. Again, Valiant got off to a bit of a strong start. They've lost a lot in a row now. Like I said in the beginning of the year, I don't really see the carries. I don't see the consistency here. And so far, that's played out. And Atlanta, yes, they're 4-3, but they are still one of the better teams in the league for sure. I would still classify them as right about top 8. So I think Atlanta takes care of business here. They finally don't have to play Philadelphia. Then we got Houston Outlaws sitting at 4-7, facing the now Sinatra-less San Francisco Shock. Of course, very quickly, if you hadn't heard, I'm sure everybody's heard because it's really big news. Sinatra has retired from Overwatch and he signed with the Sentinels and is now will be competing as a pro in Valorant. So, farewell to our MVP from last season. I wish Sinatra nothing but the best. He was one of the OG players. I remember watching him on Selfless, spawn camping people with DeFran and Emong. So what are you gonna do if you truly burned out from the game and had no passion for it anymore? I can't find it in myself to blame him. I know he had a very emotional meeting with his teammates, and I'm sure it wasn't an easy decision for him. So again, wishing him nothing but the best. At the player of that skill, I'm sure he'll do very, very great things in Valorant. And he'll be missed in the league for sure. He was one of the more standout personalities. I remember him going on Jimmy Kimmel or Fallon. It was Jimmy Fallon. Him and Super went on after the Shock won the championship last year, and they did a good job representing the esports. So again, good luck, Sinatra. I'm sure you'll be popping some heads in Valorant. The Shock, it's a big loss, but they do still have a absolutely stacked roster. They have a ton of other great DPS players. So no, he hadn't even played the last couple of weeks, I'm sure, because of all this. So I don't really see the Shocks. Their upper tier potential has dropped for sure. But like I said, you still have Architect, you still have Striker, you still have Ons. So they still have enough pieces to be the best team in the league. I do think that they'll take down the Outlaws. I think Outlaws will be pesky. I think they'll grab a map, maybe the control map right away. But then as the series moves on and there's the 2CP, I think on Hybrid too, Outlaws are going to have a really tough time attacking. And in the end, the Shock will take the series 3-1. Then, round 2 for the Asian region, Seoul Dynasty taking on Hangzhou Spark. This is an interesting one. I'm going to go with the Spark here. I think this is a bit of an upset. The Spark have been, they've been solid. They did take another loss to the Dragons recently. But it is the Dragons. I think in these types of metas, I think Dynasty's they're gonna take a little bit of a hit. I don't think we're gonna see as much Mei this week, and I think that is going to take down their power level because they were really, really dominant with the Mei. But when they couldn't play the Mei as much, it's kind of an unknown. The Spark have been playing together longer. I still, really believe in that tank line. They've been playing Rhea a lot more, and he's been performing very well. That support line, still nuts. So yeah, I'm going to go with a bit of an upset here. I'm going to take the Spark, let's say 3-1. And then the Hunters taking on New York once again. I'm going to go with the Excel here. Again, they don't look like that team that will... towards the end of last season, they dropped a couple of matches to teams that they really shouldn't, like the mid-tier teams or like the lower-tier teams. I don't think that happens. I think that they get the job done. They roll through. I'm going to say it's a 3-0 because there have been a lot of 3-0s last couple weeks, and I feel like I haven't predicted enough this week. Then we got the rematch between Paris and Philadelphia. So, news today, actually. Apparently, pending league approval, Cruz is leaving Paris. He's going over to Toronto because Toronto's main support, Kelix, is leaving Overwatch for Valiant, just like Sinatra is. So, Toronto needed a new main support, apparently. Cruz has not been playing the season like at all. They've had VDEDGaming out there, who's been a very, very good player for them. This trade makes sense for both teams. For Cruz, you get him somewhere where he'll be able to play. For Toronto, filling in that main support role. There were rumors that they were going to go with Roki because he's technically still kind of on the roster. He had a two-way contract, but then they dropped their contenders team. So I don't know what his status is with the team. But I believe that Cruz will be coming in and starting. Another English speaker like Kelix. So we'll see if he'll be able to acclimate pretty well. But again, that's not a huge change up for Paris because they have been fielding VDEDGaming. I'm going to go with Philadelphia here. I feel like I've been picking against them too often. They did get these teams are 1-1 against each other. Paris did deliver Fusion their only loss of the season. Then Philly avenged that loss a couple weeks ago. Like I said, Fusion just more solid here. For Paris, I feel like they've just suffered some losses lately. No more Cruz, Hip a couple weeks before that, who apparently he is also going pro in Valorant. And then, like I said a couple weeks ago, Xe is still not available. So Nico and Soon is what they got on the DPS right now. Nico, have been performing really well in the Mei, but again, I don't envision that much Mei this time. I don't think I could possibly say enough, or anyone could possibly say enough about the job Philly's new supports have done. They are the strongest section of this team for me. Yes, stronger than their DPS because Carpe's had some huge performances. So has like Ivy when he's come in, but this support line is absolutely insane. Funny Astro and Alarm are the best support line in the Overwatch League right now. Yes, better than New York's. They have absolutely carried, and they've enabled the Philly tanks and DPS to play so well. Funny Astro on the Lucio, Alarm on the Batiste, on the Moira or the Ana. If there's a Zen meta, he's gonna be one of the very best at that as well. So I'm gonna take Philly here. I'm gonna say it's close. I'd say pretty much every map is close, but I'm gonna go with Philly 3-1. I don't think this one quite makes it to 5. And then we got another, it's a rematch of last week, Florida Mayhem taking on Boston Uprising. Big yikes. Last week, these teams, I don't remember the exact number, but it was about 24.5 minutes their match was of actual, playing in-game. Florida just absolutely trounced Boston. It's kind of funny because I remember in I think that was season one. It was season 1 or 2. Fusion beat Florida, and they didn't drop a single life on one of the control maps. I believe it was Oasis. So, it's nice to see Florida be able to just absolutely pound somebody into the ground. Florida has struggled seasons 1 and 2, of course, but now they could be 500 above. And they hit the worst team in the league. So I'm going to go with Florida here. I think that they roll. I'll say 3-0. I don't see any reason why this shouldn't be a similar result to last time. So, yeah, Boston, we might be looking at the end of Huck here as a owner, because this is brutal. This is getting to be bad. They could end up, depending on how the season pans out, I know they have one win, but they could end up being worse than Shanghai season 1, because season 1 Shanghai, at least they were close in some of their matches. They took teams to map 5s. They got so close, but then they were heartbroken. If Boston just gets 3-0'd by everyone for the rest of the season, it's going to be ugly. So interesting to see what happens there. And then finally we got Toronto Defiant taking on LA Gladiators. Going with the Gladiators here. They've been a better team than Toronto all season long. Toronto, they're going to have a new main support in, like I was talking about before, with Cruz, or Rookie, I guess. So, yeah. Even if they still had Kellix, I would go with Gladiators here. I think they've got a higher ceiling. Like I said, they've been playing better. They beat better competition. They don't have... Toronto has a couple of rough losses, which the Gladiators, all of their losses are more or less quality ones. So I think Gladiators win it pretty easily here. I think Toronto they'll seal a map, but in the end, Gladiators win it pretty easily, 3-1. So those are the predictions for this week of Overwatch League games. Hope you guys get to watch some. I know for me, I'm going to be going outside today. It's a beautiful day, but I'm also going to be watching the matches. One other little side note, apparently the rumor is that all of the players in the Titans are gone. All of them. They've all left the team. This has not been confirmed. The only one that is confirmed is Janu. They're off tank. They're supposed to play next week, I believe, so I don't know what the hell is going to go on with that. If there's huge news, I will let you guys know. If everyone does leave, and if they have a whole new roster next week. Otherwise, I don't know. They might have to forfeit if they can't field a team. I would assume they would just forfeit, and the team that they're supposed to be playing wins. Let's actually check. Okay, they're supposed to play. Hey, Washington might get a win. And Florida. Okay, so, I don't know. That's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know what's gonna happen. London will be back in action too. Sweet. So yeah, I'll make sure to let you guys know if I do find out anything about that. But otherwise, let me know if you have any big thoughts in the comments below on anything I've talked about this video. Again, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have yourselves a wonderful and safe weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.